Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon. Morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. Welcome. So how many people here have ever felt on top of the world? Everything was going your way. You were in the flow, in the zone, and clicking on all cylinders. How many people? How many people have had a time where it felt like the world was on top of you? The weight of the world was on your shoulders, nothing working, nothing clicking, couldn't catch a break to save your life? Anybody ever feel like that? Okay. I think we've all had some rough times where things don't go the way we would like, where it seems like problem after problem, setback after setback, difficulty after difficulty, even struggling sometimes with illnesses or even injuries. Kind of reminds me of this bricklayer who made an insurance claim, and he was responding to the claim adjuster and wrote this: "Dear sir, I am writing in response to your request for additional information for my insurance claim. In block number 3 of the accident form, I wrote, trying to do the job alone as the cause for my accident. You said in your letter that I should explain that statement more fully. I trust the following details will be sufficient. I am a bricklayer by trade. On the date of the accident, I was working alone on the roof of a new 6-story building. When I completed my work, I discovered that I had about 500 pounds of bricks left over. Rather than carrying them all down by hand, I decided to lower them in a barrel using a pulley attached to the side of the building at the 6th level floor. Securing the rope at the bottom level, I went up to the roof, swung the barrel out, and loaded the bricks into it. Then I went back to the ground, untied the rope, and holding it tightly to secure a slow descent of the 500 pounds of bricks. You will note in block number 22 of the claim form that my weight is 150 pounds. Due to my surprise of being jerked off the ground so suddenly, I lost presence of mind and forgot to let go of the rope. Needless to say, I proceeded up the side of the building at a very rapid rate of speed. In the vicinity of the 3rd floor, I met the barrel coming down. This explains the fracture to my skull and my collarbone. Slowed only slightly, I continued my rapid ascent, only stopping until the fingers of my right hands were 2 knuckles deep into the pulley. By this time, I had regained my presence of mind and was able to hold on tightly to the rope in spite of my pain. Approximately at the same time, however, the barrel of bricks hit the ground and the bottom fell out. Devoid of any weight of bricks, the barrel now weighed approximately 50 pounds. Again, I refer you to the information in block number 22 regarding my weight. As you might imagine, I began a rapid descent down the side of the building. In the vicinity of the 3rd floor, I met the barrel coming up. This accounts for my 2 fractured ankles and the lacerations on my legs and my lower body. This second encounter with the barrel slowed me enough to lessen my injuries when I fell onto the pile of bricks, and fortunately, I only cracked 3 vertebrae. I am sorry to report, however, as I lay there on the bricks in a lot of pain, I was unable to stand, and watching the empty barrel from 6 stories above, again, I lost presence of mind and let go of the rope. The empty barrel weighed more than the rope, so it proceeded a rapid descent down the side of the building, landing and breaking both of my legs. So it was just a joke, but how many people ever felt you had a day just like that, where you got beat up, knocked down, just bumped and bruised by life? Sometimes life isn't easy. And whether it's financial difficulties and struggles or family or work dissatisfaction or inner turmoil, it is not an easy thing. That's why Jesus said, in this life there will be trials and tribulations, but be of good cheer. And I truly believe that the trials and the tribulations and the losses and the disappointments in life are an important part of life. They're not just something to be tolerated and skipped through quickly, I think there is value and benefit in the difficulties and the losses and challenges of our lives. They're a part of our human experience, and I think it's an important part of our spiritual experience as well. You know, every one of us wants to have a happy life, and most of us define a happy life as two things: everything going my way and things coming as easy as possible. And isn't that what we all want? We want an easy life. We want a happy, easy life. But I would suggest the thing that makes a great life and a truly happy life isn't how we handle things when everything goes our way. I think it's how we handle things when things don't go our way. I think it's how we live through the struggle, how we live through the disappointment and the pain and the heartache and the losses that really adds a level of depth, meaning, and fulfillment, and a level of inner joy to the quality of our lives. I want you to think of a loss or a challenge or a difficulty you're going through now and ask yourself the question, how you're handling it. How many people would say that you've got something in your life that you challenge or adversity that you know you could handle a little better than you're handling it now? Okay, about 12 of us. Perfect. And so this morning, we're going to do a special summer series of the Songs of Life. You know, I think we all agree. Songs touch us, inspire us in a way that the spoken word just can't. Every one of us probably has a song that got us through a difficult situation, or has become our theme song of us standing up for ourselves, or whatever it is. We all have music that has touched us and made a difference in our lives. And that's why we do this. That's why I've been doing this for like almost 20 years now, because music makes such a meaningful difference and has so much to teach us in addition to the great feelings we get from it. Today we're going to feature the music of Cat Stevens. I was a big fan of Cat Stevens when I was 7 years old. The first song I heard of his was Morning Is Broken, which I just absolutely love and would sing all the time. And Moonshadow was another fabulous song. Both of these were released on the same album. In the UK, it came out in 1970. In the US, it came in 1971. And Moonshadow, I consider the most positive, negative song that I've ever heard, the most optimistic, pessimistic song I've ever heard. And here's the brilliance of it. It is the juxtaposition of a catchy, uplifting tune saying leaping and a hopping on a moonshadow, and mixed with verses that say, if I lose my hands, if I lose my eyes, if I lose my legs, and if I lose my mouth. And to me, it is kind of a happy, sad, Jekyll and Hyde, Tigger and Eeyore kind of song. And, you know, when I was growing up, I just thought only this was an uplifting song. I just thought it was such a happy song that all that other stuff didn't seem so big in the light of the overall experience and the energy of this terrific song. And I think that's what he's trying to say, that in the overall scope, even with the losses and difficulties, life's still amazing and it's still wonderful. Cat Stevens actually calls this his favorite songs of his old songs, and he calls it the Optimist Anthem. And he released his greatest hit several years ago, mainly because of this song. He wanted released again because he felt that it could help people going through loss and adversity. And so, what are the lessons that we could have to gain from this, the wisdom in this song? And the first one to me is it all begins with a mindset, an attitude, a consciousness, an awareness of a higher truth. Let me read what he wrote, and then we can discuss it more. Oh, I'm being followed by a moonshadow, 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 leaping and hopping on a moonshadow, moonshadow, moonshadow. So what is a moonshadow? Moonshadow is obviously the light of the moon, and it tends to be more powerful in the darkness of the night. And that light of the moon really represents that light of God that follows us and is with us at all times, illuminating our path. One of my favorite scriptures in the book of John says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never overcome the light. That there is a light in us, around us, that is illuminating, that is supporting, that is blessing us along our path. And that is one of the most reassuring, comforting things to know, that we're never alone. That in this moment, in every situation of your life, there is no time that we are not in the presence of God, and God is in the presence of us. It reminds me of three scriptures. One in Acts that says, it is in God that we live and move and have our very being. And that means it is in love that we live and move and have our very being. It is in peace that we live and move and have our very being. It is in joy and unlimited possibilities that we live. In this moment, every moment, we are being followed by a moonshadow. That it is there for us and that all things are working together in our favor even when we are not connected or aware of it. And so to me, that is a very reassuring thing to know that you have a spiritual support system, a spiritual safety net, a spiritual GPS that's guiding and blessing your life. That is a very reassuring thing. And then it goes to leaping and a hopping on a moonshadow. And that means if you know that your life is blessed and you're supported, don't you think that'd give you the freedom to leap and hop in life instead of cower and hold back? Sometimes we live anxiously and fearfully and we're worried. Sometimes we're stressed and we hold back and scared to reach out and to risk and to try. And this song, if you know that there's a moonshadow following you, with you all the time, supporting you, don't you think you'd more likely, like leaping and hopping means live more freely. Live more fully in God. Know that no matter what, you're going to be okay. And if you knew that, what would you try? What would you do? What would you want to feel? What would you want to create? And so this whole idea that you're followed by a spirit and energy that gives you the freedom and the reassurance that you can leap and hop and live your life so much more joyously and freely than we're currently and sometimes allow ourselves to live. I mean, don't you think if you knew this was a part of you that you would give more, you'd share more, you'd love more, you'd enjoy more? I mean, life is there available to us, and we don't have to there's nothing that needs to stop it. And then I love that verse when it said, did it take long to find me? I asked the fateful light. Did it take long to find me? And are you going to stay the night? And here's what he said in an interview about writing the song. He said, I was sitting on a beach on the edge of the water on a beautiful night with the moon glowing. And suddenly I looked down and I saw a shadow. I thought, that is so cool, because I'd never seen it before. And so what he's saying here is that light has always been there, but sometimes we aren't always aware of it. And the key to have that reassurance of this, being followed by this moonlight is an awareness that it's there. You know, there's a wonderful line in the book of Genesis that says, I was in the house of the Lord, and I knew it not. That right now where you're sitting is on holy ground. That there is no time that you are not in the presence of God. And sometimes we know it not. Sometimes we forget. And the more we're connected with that awareness, the more we feel a sense of assurance. You know, being assured that God is there and not being assured and being scared and think God isn't there is the difference between waking up in the morning and saying, good morning, God, or good God, it's morning. And so, the truth is, you're being followed by a moonshadow. There is a light in you that no darkness could ever put out. That there's a light surrounding you and blessing you and guiding you. You know, and the question is, are you willing to allow it to reassure you so you could start leaping and hopping and living more freely in your life? The next thing I love about this song is that it makes us realize that no matter what happens, that we are supported and there's still more good to come and that we are always being renewed. I find it interesting that the lines go, and if I ever lose my hands, and if I ever lose my eyes, and if I ever lose my legs, and if I ever lose my mouth. Could you imagine losing your hands? Could you imagine losing your eyes? Could you imagine losing your legs? Can you imagine losing your mouth? How different and how altered would your experience of life be if you lost all of this? Or any of that? How many people have ever lost something that meant a lot to you, or something that was so devastating, a change in your life, that you felt and wondered if you could survive it or get through it? How many people ever had something in your life where you felt like you've lost your happiness or lost your joy and life will just never be the same again? Anybody have an experience like that? We have all had that experience. And I think the reason he puts these things is we couldn't think of more dramatic things that we could lose that would alter our experience and our enjoyment for life. And here are 3 lessons I think he's trying to teach in that. You are more than your body. That there is a spirit in you that is so much great that no sword could pierce, that no fire could burn, no water could drown. That's in you. And that's why he's putting this. That even that won't stop your happiness. because nothing will stop your spirit. The second thing is whatever you think you've lost, or you think if you lose it that you'll lose your joy and lose your happiness and it'll never come back, that's not true. And that's not to say we don't go through devastating things, but it's to show that God is so great that there is still more, even when we think we've lost something, that'll be the end of our joy and happiness. That there is always some good that'll come from things, always, because God is in all things. And even in a slightly sick, twisted, humorous way, he shows something positive. Like he said, like if I use my hands, lose my plow, lose my land, if I lose my hands, I won't have to work anymore. That's his optimism right there. And if I lose my eyes, I won't have to cry no more. If I lose my legs, I won't have to walk anymore. If I don't lose my mouth, I won't have to talk anymore. And while it does sound a little odd, what he's trying to make a thing is that even if you lose something, they'll still be good. That we think there's a hole in our lives because this thing is gone, an empty void that'll never be filled. But what he's saying is anytime there's an emptiness or a hole, it's actually a space for new good. And it might look different than you think, but there's good. And that's what his little funny lines really mean, that some good will come in its place. Because life is about renewal. And when you think one door is closed, some other good will come in its form. So when my mom lost my dad several years ago, they'd been married for 40-something years. She had 10 kids, and her husband, her life was dedicated to the house and taking care of us. My father's last 2 years, 24/7. She was taking care of him. So when he died at 68, I mean, she didn't really have a lot of friends because everything was around the family and our husband. And so she was alone and had to recreate herself. And so she started driving at 68. You know, she started discovering and finding new friends. She joined the church choir. She joined a group called the Crafty Ladies, who would sew all kinds of crafts, you know. She started reaching out and doing things and becoming more active and finding out who she is and what her new chapter of life would look like. You know, she started doing little daring things. She started traveling all over. She had traveled to over 36 countries before she passed away. Then it started getting out of control. She did skydiving and then hang gliding and dog sledding. And then the other cool thing was my father always used to give the talks at all of our family gatherings. So then suddenly my mom's giving talks. She was pretty good. And here's the interesting thing. While it was sad that she lost her husband and his time had been completed, she wouldn't have discovered all this if it wasn't for that pain and loss she had to go through. Does that make sense, everyone? The sometimes these things that appear to be lost are also an invitation to an expansion to discover greater aspects of ourselves and to expand ourselves. And yes, it's not to diminish those other times and what we lost, but it's to show the unlimited nature of God, that there's still more life, more joy, and more possibilities for your life, even when you think something has ended. Because one ending is really just a new beginning. My friend Lucy, she had cancer. And she went through a lot of struggle with her chemo and stuff, and she got better. As soon as she got better, her kid's sister had stage 4 cancer. She ended up spending tons of time with her, and she was vomiting, and she was taking care of him. They spent a lot of the next year. She took a lot of time off of work, and they laughed and they cried, and then her sister passed away. And while that was tragic, I'll guarantee you she would not give up a second of that time in their 50s that they got to spend together every single day. And it's something tragic brought something more precious than they could have ever dreamed or imagined. Anybody know Bethany Hamilton? She's a young lady, a shark bit her arm off. 3 or 4 years later, she won a national surfing championship. That amazing story and what she learned and how she learned to balance herself and be a successful surfer would not have happened if that loss didn't happen. Nobody looks for these things. Nobody wants these things. But I'm saying in this life, losses happen. Change and difficulty and pain happen. The question is, how are we handling it? One of the things I believe that a part of it is about renewal, because life is always renewing. Ernest Holmes, founder of religious science, said this: life will never leave you in any one position for too long. You'll be there just long enough to give what you came to give, receive what you came to give, to continue on your soul journey. And so we'll think, oh, this thing is so good it should last forever. oh, that got cut short. It ended way too short. And that's a part of our human reaction. But at the soul level, we are here in all these situations, relationships, jobs, for as long as we're meant to be for our soul's journey. Longer doesn't necessarily mean better. It is, things happen for a reason, season, or a lifetime. And we shouldn't diminish it because it's shorter. We should enjoy how precious it is at the time. So think of something in your life that you lost your challenge, and can you come to a place to realize that is supposed to teach you and help you discover a new beginning, new possibilities, and to help your soul renew and expand. And whatever has ended, as beautiful as it was then, that it is time to let it go for your soul to unfold. And for this growth and these transformations to take place, what we need to do is we need to let go of our resistance. We got to let go of the old to welcome the new. Because sometimes we're still hanging on to the old. Hanging on to the old relationship, the old idea, the old dream, the old thing we thought we would have that we really wanted to. And we judge it with energy like, oh, it should have never happened. That was wrong. That was bad. And all that energy isn't good energy to help us move forward. Sometimes we're so focused on the pain and the loss that we miss the opportunities and blessings and the ability to move forward. So where in your life are you resisting something? Or fighting against something you wish didn't happen? Or fighting against something you think should have happened? What is an old idea or old dream, an old story, an old relationship that you're holding back? The ability for you to allow the new and the unknown possibilities. Somebody said you got to let go of the life you think you should have to be released, to allow the life you are meant to have to come forward. I bet every one of us could probably say, this part of my life didn't turn out the way I thought it would. And I bet every one of us could probably say in some areas, and it turned out even better than I dreamed it would. Because sometimes we need to surrender. I like when he talks about, it's really about surrendering to that light. Surrender to the light. Sometimes we want to curse the darkness. It's the darkness sometimes that helps us see the light. It's the darkness that brings us to our knees and opens us up to allow this greater life and wisdom to happen. And the last thing I want to talk about is that there's a line in Scripture that says, I will restore to you the years the locusts have eaten. So whatever you think you lost, God has got an ability to renew and restore that joy in a great way. Cat Stevens wrote this at the age of 22. I'm thinking, where does a 22-year-old get the wisdom and insight to write a song like this? Cat Stevens was a very talented musician, born in London. He was actually touring by the time he was 18 years old. He'd been touring for about 3 years. Very successful career. And then he got tuberculosis. And he had spent months in the hospital. It took him a year for healing. And they thought he was actually going to die. And he thought to himself, wow, I'm on top of my game, doing what I love, in music, what I love, and making lots of money. And then suddenly he's in the hospital, can't play music, can't travel, and they think he might die. And he's in a lot of discomfort and pain. And he said that led him on a path of soul searching, wondering about why he was here, what he really believed. He started to meditate and do yoga. He became a vegetarian. He studied metaphysics. He read other religions. And it is in that time and through that crisis and that inner discovery, he wrote 40 of his songs that really were the 9 years of his height of his career, including Moonshadow. To lose everything he had and to discover himself, it restored him to better than he was before. How many people heard of Vera Wang? Okay, I never heard of her. So, but I was reading about her and I was impressed. And so she was working at Vogue magazine for 17 years, wanted to be editor-in-chief, and kept working, very, very successful, but kind of get promised, got passed over. She felt she was stuck. She felt she was lost. She felt devastated. And then because of that loss and that struggle, she decided to start her own high fashion line. And of course, she's one of the biggest names in wedding dress design. Here's what she said. No matter how bad things get, no matter how discouraged I feel, no matter how much of a failure I feel, I try to believe that there is a reason there is a process and there is a learning experience that will take me to something greater. Isn't that powerful? She knows that it'll restore. Just because you fail, just because things didn't work out, because you had a loss, there's more. Charlize Theron had the unfortunate experience of watching her mother kill her father. A violent alcoholic out of defense, she watched that. She did her healing work, but chose consciously to channel that energy instead of taking her down, to infuse it into her acting, into her characters, to create more emotion and believability. And I would say she has done well. Allow it to renew, allow it to restore. Every one of us is going to experience loss and challenge and disappointment in our lives, but there is a light that shines in us and all around us. And we need to let the hurts and the heartaches lead us to the blessings and the discoveries and opportunities. Let the darkness lead us to the light. We need to let nothing stop us from living us fully and allow it to renew us in a way that we will keep leaping and hopping in the moon shadow. God bless you all.